How do you see India's role in this, Ambassador Sikri? There have been talks about how India can play the role of a mediator in this conflict as well. Do you see that happening at all?
Well, as of now, I don't think there's any initiative in that direction. I think that India is not seeking a mediator role at all, but India is very happy to talk to both sides. We have just seen how on the Ukraine-Russia conflict, our Prime Minister was in Russia, our Prime Minister was in Kiev, and has had discussions with President Putin, has had discussions with President Zelensky, and right now our NSA Ajit Doval is in Moscow, and he has called on President Putin as well. So I think wherever the possibility is there, our
Hmm.
Prime Minister, our leadership is very much more than willing to meet all sides and to discuss the issues to carry it further. We've seen some slight movement on the Ukraine-Russia conflict, but I think that is as of now, and I think that should take itself forward logically again perhaps after the American elections. But on the Hamas Israel, I do not see anything at the moment happening. But certainly our government is ready since we have good relations with all sides. We have good relations with Israel. We have good relations with Palestine. We've had very positive relations. We've been one of the core supporters of Palestine all these years. We've supported the two-nation theory all these years, and our relations with Israel are very strong and good. So certainly all the conditions are there, but at the moment there doesn't seem to be anything on the platter at
Hmm.
this time.
It's interesting, Ambassador Sikri, that here we're talking about a resolution to this entire conflict. But you have the UN General Secretary Antonio Guterres saying that the Israeli Prime Minister has stopped taking my calls and I haven't talked to him in a long time. How does this move forward then?
Yeah.
Global pressure is not working on Prime Minister Netanyahu. He's already facing a lot of domestic pressure and domestic challenges. How does this move forward then?
Well, I think again it is the USA is the one country that as of today is in a position to put pressure on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and to bring the two sides to the table at this right point. But right now, one doesn't see this. One does not see this happening before the elections are there, and I think Prime Minister Netanyahu will be very aware of this. That he has been in America, he's been there more than once. He's addressed Congress, and he's done everything that he can do to retain his support in the USA. Although we do know that there was this tremendous upheaval on university campuses across the country in USA, and tremendous conflictual, contextual, and very conflicting feelings among so many groups and peoples in the USA, even though USA has been such a traditional supporter of Israel. But right now, at this moment, I think till the American elections,
Hmm.
I do not see anything happening beyond the present state and beyond everybody expressing a keen desire to get both countries, Israel and the Palestinians, to the conflict, to the peace table, to peace talks, to end the conflict. And we can certainly hope it'll end soon, but not before the end of this year, I think.
And what change do you think will happen after the American election results? It is the Biden administration and the Democrat administration during which this war started. Trump is saying that if he were the president, these wars wouldn't have started at all.
Well, yes, I mean, former President Trump, who is now contesting the elections again, he's saying that about Ukraine as well, that he will have a very quick resolution for the Ukraine-Russia conflict if he were to be elected president, and
Hmm.
certainly on the
Hmm.
Gaza. Israel, on the Hamas Israel conflict, he's also very optimistic. But what can we say about that till he actually becomes the president, till he's actually elected the president again? So we have to wait. I think another 2 months will go by in this wait, because even on the Ukraine-Russia conflict, while we are seeing the initial stirrings of a peace process, these things don't happen suddenly. They do spin themselves out over a long time. But India is certainly doing its best by talking to a very broad cross section of countries involved in the Ukraine-Russia conflict. But as far as the Palestinian conflict is concerned, I really do not see anything moving till after the US elections.
You know, diplomacy is a tightrope that countries walk, Ambassador Sikri. And in these kind of conflicts, specifically the Israel-Hamas war, um, does diplomacy stop somewhere where you see that, okay, right now probably is not the right time to talk or, hold discussions over a resolution, or you just go on with it, even if one of the sides or perhaps both the sides are not willing to back off?
Yeah, but diplomacy never stops. Absolutely, you're right on that. It just never stops. Right now, the UNGA is on, and certainly the state of Palestine, they have taken their rightful position there on the table. So now they are in a very strong position to interact openly, directly with the other countries, to talk to all sides and to see what they can do to get the people on their side to come together and put pressure. After all, one must see that it is the UNGA which has done this. It is the vast majority of nation states who have got together in their support for Palestine and bringing them to this situation that they are today a non-member state of the UN. Certainly now they can continue with these talks, and this will continue, and diplomacy will continue between governments as well. Diplomacy will continue. I think the US is also continuing its active talks with Israel, cautioning them, telling them. We even withheld some supplies, small supplies of weaponry and so on. So all these efforts continue. Diplomacy really never ends, and you never know from which point the diplomacy may come up. But I do think that the support for Hamas is one factor which does hold back, because terrorism is an issue which the world must recognize, and I think that as long as terrorism is allowed to continue unchecked and member states are helping terrorist organizations despite all the UN resolutions, there is a problem here, so I think on both sides one has to look at it. Just as like one talks about Israel getting support from some member states and so many weaponry supplies from the US, one talks about Hamas getting support from other member states and an equal supply of weaponry and very advanced technological weapons. So I think one has to recognize at one point that it is this supply, finance and weaponry. These are the two crucial factors in any war, in any conflict, in any terrorist organization. So if you cannot cut off the supply of finance and the supply of weaponry and the access to more and more advanced weaponry, then how will the conflict end? Because then everyone who has access to such weaponry will continue to use them, which they think is to their benefit. But in the end, it is not, because it destroys people, it destroys homes, and brings no solution at all.
Yeah, so I think more than lip service and words, Ambassador Sikri, is, what we want is action on ground, which is implemented. But we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Ambassador Veena Sikri, for joining us on Mirror Now and sharing your perspective and helping us understand this entire historic move. Namaskar, ma'am.